Hey everybody, I'm Kate Conroy.
And I'm Vinnie.
And this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the largest business association in the country, representing 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey.
It's amazing.
Pretty impressive. I agree. For more info on us, visit njbia.org. We release a new episode every other Friday, so be on the lookout. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance. They provide home, auto, and workers' comp insurance, and they're the official sponsor of the show, so check them out if you need some insurance.
Yeah, so just a couple housekeeping matters before we get started. Today's show is available on every podcast network where you can possibly get a podcast. We're also on YouTube. But if you are listening to this on a podcast network like iTunes, Google Play, Amazon's TuneIn service, and you love us, please give us a 5-star review. It helps us get out there and get discovered by more awesome listeners just like you. If you hate us, maybe just grab a Snickers and come back when you're new again, because this show is amazing.
Just go away.
Yeah, or that, you know. But in all seriousness, opb@njbia.org is where you can send any feedback, questions, anything you want us to read or hear. That's where you can do it.
Tell us why you hate us, and we'll take it right to our therapy appointment.
Exactly.
All right.
So with us today is Rebecca Perkins of Perkins Partnerships. So tell us a little about yourself. Say hi.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I am a public policy consultant. What that means, for people who don't really understand public policy or know what that is, it doesn't. In my case, it doesn't mean I've got tons of policy degrees, things like that. It means that what I do is really work in areas of advocacy, and I like to work in serious issues. I've been very fortunate in my career to work on some issues and industries that are very impactful to New Jersey. I don't do, I don't do fashion shows. I don't do weddings. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. They're all fun. But
Sure.
I tend to do things like sludge, waste treatment, auto insurance, pharmaceuticals, the fun, easy lifts.
Wow, that sounds wow. I'm just like, yeah, it's not wedding shows. It's not, wow.
It's been really interesting because what I've learned through all of that is that there is something interesting about everything, even sludge. Sludge can be really fascinating once you learn enough about it. And the beauty of what I've always done, either working in trade associations or as a consultant with my own business, is that I have the luxury of kind of sticking to one general area. Much of my business is focused on life sciences, but there's always been a variety of issues and companies that I've dealt with, so it's always interesting. And it gives you the luxury to kind of delve deeper, but you get to see a wider range of people and issues in that too.
Very cool. All right, I think we're going to do a deep dive on that, but first we have an icebreaker question.
Okay,
And
break some ice.
Yeah, let's break some ice. The icebreaker is, what are your favorite Friday night plans?
Oh, I have such an exciting life. My favorite Friday night plan, we have to start off a big Friday night with my regular Friday night ritual, which is probably, bringing the weekend in with a martini, probably dirty.
My favorite.
Yeah. And I have to watch Brooks and Shields on the PBS NewsHour because those guys rock.
Brooks and Shields, that sounds like a made-up show, like Brooke Shields is going to talk politics or something.
Yeah, Brooks and Shields. I just love those guys. PBS NewsHour actually usually puts me to sleep too. Okay, I'll be honest. But these two guys, they talk about politics. And I was actually once in a hotel in Washington, and Mark Shields, who one of my idols, obviously. I had just kind of turned, and as I'm turning back, I see he's just walking past me. And ordinarily I would go like, oh my God, I love you. I can't believe I'm meeting you. Well, it was too late for that. Just too late, right? So I'm like, I've missed the moment. What can I do? So he goes into this restaurant where he and his crew used to eat.
This story can go a really awful way.
It's really short.
No, I just mean like there's a lot of stories that end really terribly that start like, all right, so I chased him down into the restaurant.
Well, I almost kind of did. I went to the restaurant, but I was not going to intrude in his little group, right? Because he does a show, or used to do a show on PBS after that, so the whole group would be there. And I was not that bold to break in on that. So I went over to the hostess and I said, look, I know who just walked in, and I'm a huge fan, but I don't want to interrupt his breakfast. Can you just please tell him I'm a huge fan? And she goes, who's that? And I said, Mark Russell. Right? And she's like, he's not here. And I said, no, he just walked in. And she goes, no, he's not. I said, he's at the table over there. Like, that's him, right? And I left. I had to catch a train. Well, I'm like on the train coming home, and I realized that wasn't Mark Russell. It was Mark Shields.
That's hilarious.
So I'm sure the entire table was like, oh my God, your big fans are here. They don't even know who you are.
That's pretty funny. I thought you were going to be like, I stalked him from afar for a little while and then followed him out of the restaurant and jumped into a cab and like followed.
No. I'm many things, but not a stalker. stalker.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Then, what are your favorite Friday night plans?
I don't have favorite Friday night plans.
You-
I'm just really boring.
Well, now you have a kid, so all your
I have
Friday
the
night plans
kid.
are scuppered.
Yeah, like I find that all of my friends, anybody that wants to get together, always wants the Saturday. So I find that like I'm always telling people I'm really booked up, when really it's just that same day every week that can get booked up. And then Sunday and Friday, I'm doing nothing. So, you got your Netflix, you got your, whatever. But yeah, now that we have the kid, it's just another night chasing her around. So,
How old? Is
a little over a year, 14 months or so in a couple weeks. So,
she? I have 2 grandkids under 2, so I feel your pain.
Yeah.
At least we're sleeping now. That's the big thing, like many episodes ago, probably like the last time we really talked about Chloe, I was talking about how I don't sleep anymore. But we're beyond that. Now, like, instead of waking up like every couple hours, she wakes up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then she's just up. But at least you get like 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. or so, which is probably more sleep than I used to get anyway. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, how about you?
All right. So kind of the same. I'm in my 40s now. I'm not going out on Friday night anymore. There's no club scene. But one of my favorite things that I used to do with my girlfriend Christine was I would go to her house and I would pick up Chipotle on the way, and she would text me her order. So I would show up with Chipotle, and she would have 2 bottles of ice cold champagne in her fridge. And we would watch whatever garbage TV that she had recorded on her DVR that week. And usually, I say garbage, but usually it was like the White Princess or the White Queen, those Philippa Gregory historical things.
Those are good. I've seen some
They're
of those.
really good, and they're based on like actual history, and they're well done, and
So
the
you don't
costumes.
feel like you're watching trash.
Exactly. There's like debauchery and sword fighting and fun, but it's all historical, right?
Exactly. That's kind of scary, huh? We were I was going to say the same thing at the same time. Like,
I know, right, Jinx?
Poor Vinnie. He's like, oh, God.
No, I've never watched the show. I have no idea what we're talking about. So
Oh, they're
Yeah.
based on the War of the Roses. Do you remember in the last episode, the Mindy Scarlet episode, I was talking about how Richard III kidnapped his nephews and then they were never heard from again?
Yeah.
That was the tail end of the War of the Roses. Up
Okay.
until then, all of the families were warring, and one faction would like get a hold of the king and kill him and declare themselves king, and then the next faction would get a hold of that king and kill them and declare. So it was.
why would you want to be king?
Well, exactly. But the king had a lot of money and power if you could hold on to the crown. It was a good place to be if you could hold on to it. So anyway, yeah, Chipotle, champagne, and some garbage TV with my girlfriend.
Wait, time out. Now I've got questions. So let's say you're king. You, all right?
Queen. But
Fine, but like let's just say king because that's what you were talking about.
Sure, right, okay.
So like somebody kills you and becomes king.
Yeah.
They would have to be like your brother or something.
Happened all
Sort
the time.
of, yeah. That's actually how the War of the Roses began, is that you had the king, Richard II, who was bad. He was just making really bad decisions, and he exiled his cousin, Henry, who had the biggest army and the biggest pile of money. And so Henry was not happy. And when he came back, Richard sort of accidentally died. Nobody really kind of knows. Well, I think they do, but I don't know the story. And then Henry declared himself king, even though Richard's son should have been king. But Henry was like, no, I'm king now. And he became Henry IV. And then, yeah.
No, and why does the cousin have his own army? Like
Because-
William and Harry don't have their own armies, right?
Well,
Like it's not
because it was the Middle Ages, and England was almost constantly at war with France. And so the way that feudalism worked is that you had a guy at the top who was kind of in charge, and then you had all of his little warriors below him, soldiers, and each feudal lord had their own army, and depending on how wealthy you were, you could like hire outside mercenaries to swell the ranks of your soldiers, and you had the peasants working the farms, the serfs who were like bringing in the crops, which funded everything. It was like this big pyramid scheme, basically. Yeah, so Henry had the biggest army and all the money.
the more you know.
In New Jersey terms, like the people at the top of the food chain would be like, your county chairs, your political chairs, and then underneath them you have all of the, the little municipal officers,
Yeah.
officials, and the third assistant dog catcher, and all those things we like
Totally.
to have in New Jersey. So.
That's exactly right. I remember when Phil Murphy threw his hat, not to go political, but I remember when Phil Murphy officially threw his hat into the ring to be governor, everybody was like, oh, well, that's it then. He's going to be governor. And I was like, well, I don't understand. Why is he going to be governor? And they were like, well, because he's got all the money and he's got all the lines. And I was like, what are the lines? I don't understand. And somebody explained it. Melanie Willoughby, shout out to Melanie. She explained what the lines meant. Would you like to do the honors?
It basically means you're going to be elected whatever.
Right,
if you have the lines. But each county has a convention sometimes, or a county chair has a nominating committee, or in many cases it's just the county chair who will say you get the line, which means that you've got all of the offices and things up for election located in one easy fell swoop of a voting
like
thing,
the
right?
Dems are all under column A.
Yeah, well, you don't know where you're going to be,
right?
Because that's a drawing. But you're all together, and basically, it's got your title on it, the regular Democratic organization. So that means that's what all your little serfs go in and look for.
Right.
So, the minions,
peasants,
the peasants. Yeah.
Wow, this just got really offensive. I feel like.
No, I'm a peasant. I get it.
No, I am too. I'm totally a peasant. I'm just an educated peasant.
And it's probably impossible to not go to politics with me, so because that's kind of just the way I am. So sorry, I will try not to be political.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
No
it is an interesting way that the world works. It hasn't changed much. The way that the world works hasn't changed much. Yeah.
So anyway, about that deep dive, right?
Oh, yeah, so on that deep dive, without getting into politics.
How many days do we have to do this?
I know, right? I know. So tell us, what's your favorite thing about your job?
The favorite thing about my job, it's my own business, which I love. And that's probably one of the most favorite things about it is even though it can be terrifying sometimes to be a business owner, I also find it incredibly rewarding. And what I love the most is that your whole life can change with one phone call. You know, like you can lose a client and have a really bad day, or you can pick up a phone and it could be somebody talking about the most interesting opportunity that you never even thought about. And it just becomes like a huge part of your life. It's wonderful. So I like that. I like the unexpected. I like kind of being in control of my own fate. It's up to me to make the business work. And, for good or bad, I don't have anybody to blame if things go south. I can pretty much say, well, I should have done this, should have done that. So it's just, I like the responsibility, and I like the risks, and I like the rewards.
Any favorite clients?
Oh, they're all my favorite.
They're like children. You can't just...
Exactly.
So what's interesting about sludge? Because I've been thinking about that since you said it.
Everything's interesting about sludge.
Oh, it is. Oh, my gosh. No, well, like, they actually, like sludge. You know what sludge is?
No.
This is a test.
There's a defined... Okay, go ahead.
No, I want to know. Do you guys know what sludge is?
All right, so I would think it's like the toxic waste that comes off of energy production. I don't know. I was you always think of nuclear sludge.
I was thinking like waste management sludge.
Yeah,
that's it. Bingo.
Really?
It's what comes out of wastewater treatment plants, basically. That byproduct is sludge. But you can take that sludge and you can actually, they have reclaimed like forest land in Pennsylvania. I mean, you can use it for all kinds of good things.
We can recycle
fertilizer? What do you mean?
Fertilizer, yeah.
Really?
Fertilizer, yeah.
Wow.
Basically. So you would never think that there could be anything really good that could come out of a wastewater treatment plant, but sludge is a very good thing. So...
I am astonished. I need to sit with that information for a minute.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing because my first thought on that is, if this is the byproduct of all the stuff we throw in the garbage, then it can't be consistent in its output because, maybe you're throwing something away one day and you're not throwing it away the other day.
Right.
So, you can't consistently rely on it to be fertilizer, right? What if I'm throwing out, I don't know, salt, right? Salt is not good as a fertilizer because that would salt your land.
It's not things you're throwing out.
It's wastewater.
Things that go through.
Right. But I'm saying, the things I throw out would then dictate what gets filtered out of the, right? No? Yeah.
You're asking me. You're looking at me, so I assume you're asking me, and I'm like...
Because you're the one giving me a look no, you're totally wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I've never worked with the recycling authority as a client, so I can't help you there. But sludge, trust me on sludge. I do know my sludge. Sludge been very, very good to me.
All right.
Sludge has been very good to you.
Yeah.
That is a phrase I never thought that I would hear out loud. That is so
It's one of those businesses you don't think to get into.
Seriously.
So to speak. R.
No pun intended.
Start branding it. It's like sludge. Just do it.
All right. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back.
Great.
And we're back. We are now going to play a game, my favorite game, called Awful or Awesome. I'm going to name 3 things, and you have to decide quickly if they're awful or awesome, and then be prepared to defend your answers. I love how dramatic that sounds.
I'm
right?
I'm engaged.
Well, if you can't be dramatic about your favorite game, what can you be dramatic
Obviously. That's so true.
I get pretty dramatic about Mario Kart, so, it's all good.
That's true. All right, first up, Law and Order reruns.
I don't watch Law and Order. I don't know.
You do not watch Law and Order.
No, okay, so I've seen a couple episodes. They all seem alike to me. I don't know. It's kind of like I don't watch anything like that anymore. Like I don't watch Law and Order. I don't watch CSI. Like anything that has that template where like every episode is going to be the same basic thing.
Procedural, right?
Yeah, like so I just kind of pulled out of all that years ago. But I have seen a few. It was a decent show. I don't know.
Yeah. So you're talking the entire like franchise, not SVU, not
Yeah, so everything. Like the genre, not just the franchise. Like yeah, I'm just not into it. I mean, I watched like 8 seasons of CSI and like
8 seasons of CSI, and then you're like, I'm done.
Yeah, and then I'm done. And then like Tara got really into NCIS, and I was like, this is the same thing. Right. And then like Law and Order is not like a medical kind of like drama in that sense. Like I'm not CSI isn't a medical drama either. But like you know, it was like that same thing. We're gonna like, you know, solve crimes, and it's gonna be the same basic thing. We're gonna have our team and you know, like all that. And I'm just like, I'm so done with it, you know, I'm over it. So especially when there's tons and tons and tons of TV that I haven't seen that everybody is like, this is the best show ever. I don't need to be seeing like 23 seasons of, you know, Law and Order.
I can't believe it's been 23. Is it 23?
No, I'm being hyperbolic, but like, you know.
What?
It's been a lot.
Yeah, it's probably been a lot. I don't know, especially if you start combining them across their different, you know, not franchises, but like their different series, you know.
Yeah. That's a better word. All right, Becky.
Awesome.
Awesome.
But I will differ for you a little bit. I've never seen CSI or NCIS, so it's not the genre, but it's just those original Law and Order episodes.
Yeah.
I just love those. I think it's the doink doink.
The what?
The doink doink.
Doink doink.
I don't know what
Doink
that
doink. Every time there's a big
It's
scene,
like, okay, like dun dun.
Oh!
I don't watch the show, and even I knew that. Like,
I don't watch the show
it's like
either.
the most mockable thing about that show.
That sounds fun.
And I love the predictability. The first 3 minutes, somebody finds a body. You know, then you cut to the detectives doing their work. Then the last half hour of the show is the court system, the prosecutor, who those guys are really just in the cops. They're just out to fry everybody. Kind of like, I think we can make a case here. You know, well, maybe they didn't do it. No, we can make it. They're pinned. We got them. And it's kind of like, guys,
That's terrifying.
it's a little, trust me, it's a little scary. But I'm addicted to it.
I like how the very thing that you love about it is what I hate about it. Like you just like templated out an episode of Law and Order. You're like, all right, the first 5 minutes is this, and then you got 20 minutes of this, and then you know, like
you got your
I'm
body,
just
you
like,
got your detective work, you got your prosecutor, you got your closing argument, you got your jury verdict, and then they all go out in the elevator at the end with one wry comment from Sam Waterston. It's
Oh
the
my
best.
lord! You know what? Somebody told me once that the first half is the law and the second half is the order.
Ooh.
That's how it got
like
its
that.
name, right? So I have to be honest. I've never seen a single episode from start to finish all the way through, but I caught the middle part of the Vincent D'Onofrio episode where he was caught in the train. Do you remember that?
No.
It's not a spoiler alert, right?
No.
I can say it. It's been so
There's
many.
no spoiler alerts at this point.
Right. Okay.
All right,
so
I'm going to make like a new rule on this show about spoilers. We will not spoil anything that's come out in the last 3 years. But SVU, that's been a while, right? Like,
no idea.
I think you're,
yeah, I think you're safe.
3 years. I like that 3-year rule.
Yeah.
All right. So there was this episode where a subway train, like, had Vincent D'Onofrio had like been out jogging and he slipped and fell onto the tracks just as a train came by, and so his upper half was like this, like on the platform, and his lower half was just gone, and the train was behind him, and he was like talking, and they were like trying to figure a way to like rescue him or save him. It doesn't sound like an episode of
No, I think
Law
it's
and Order.
Law and Order. Unless
Yeah.
someone pushed him.
Also,
No,
I was
they always die.
Maybe.
They always die.
Well,
It's just a body.
He did die.
Usually
So,
they
I don't
die in
know.
the beginning, though. You have to find a body.
Listeners
Yeah.
will know. Somebody write in and tell me what I'm talking about.
because he's also like a phenomenal actor. Like, why kill him off in the first 5 minutes of your?
That's the thing. He wasn't dead. He was like chatting with the police officers, and they were like, "Listen, man, we're gonna get you out of here." And he was like, "That'd be great."
Wait,
And
so he was just like straight Darth Maul. Like he had no like
he
lower
was
torso.
literally
Okay.
his elbows, I think, were up on the platform, and he was like chatting with the officers who were trying to save him. And the subway was literally behind him, pinning him. But it had cauterized all the blood. Like, he couldn't bleed out
He's
because
just chatting away. Wouldn't he be in pain? Like immense pain?
Maybe shock would.
Maybe shock? I don't know. I mean, it could very well be that I'm remembering this completely wrong.
Maybe
But-
this was one of the nights we had Chipotle and a champagne. It's like, whoa, check out
That
this show.
could very
A
well be.
dangerous combination.
It's true. It's
Everything's
true.
better with champers.
Oh my gosh. Amen to that. Amen to that. But yeah, I've never watched it, but I totally understand the appeal of feeling that comfort. Like, I just rewatched season 2, the whole thing of The Good Place, because I just love that show so much.
But
What?
The Good Place doesn't have like a template. That's what I love about that show is that like it's so out there that like you don't predict. Like if you watch season 1 of that show and like you get to the end of that season and you're just blown away at how like little you predicted what was going to happen in that, you know, like
Yes, but I feel okay. So maybe season 1 didn't have a template, although I think it did a tiny bit. Season 2 definitely did, I think, in that every episode they were dealing with some problem and they were kind of fighting and squabbling and by the end of the episode either that problem had finished or there was a new problem, and then the next episode they were fighting and squabbling about the next problem.
But you're talking about like the nature of serialized storytelling. Like, you know, that's different from like, okay, the first 5 minutes we're going to introduce a body and then the next 20 minutes we're going to like get clues
Fair.
about it. You know, like
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, that was way to put me in my place. Thank you.
I'm just saying. Yeah. It's a
Smackdown.
good place to be, right?
Smackdown.
Oh, it is a good place. Okay, second one is local politics. And I mean that in that all politics are local. So Cory Booker, for example, you know, not leaning one way or the other, but he started as the mayor of Newark. And technically, you know, Newark is a really big city. I think it's the largest city in New Jersey, even though it's not the capital. And he used that as a way to catapult himself to, you know, he's not a presidential frontrunner yet, but his name is bandied about quite a bit. And so local politics in that all politics are local politics.
Yeah, I mean, awful and awesome. I think.
Look at you. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, very,
okay.
very political answer there. You know, I just was talking to someone yesterday, and of course, Tip O'Neill's famous adage came up, you know, there's no Democratic or Republican way to plow a street after a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Right? It's about the level of service that you can give. And you see that on a local level. People will often say, oh, I would always vote, you know, whatever my party is, but it doesn't matter at the local level. Sure. It's really about who takes care of me.
Right.
Well, I think now we're really seeing that at the national level as well. In that sense, you know, politics is really ultimately about the story that you tell and how it affects the individual. And everybody's going to react differently to that story, but, you know, everybody has to feel that at some level. And that's why, you know, you can tell the same story, you can do your national ad campaigns, whatever, but you've got to reach each person individually and get them to feel hopefully the way you want them to feel. You know, they're going to react, but it's all about that individual. Mm-hmm. I mean, politics is fascinating. So yeah, so I take it back. It's all awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that it's awesome as well. I think that this is something that somebody else said first, and I'm glad because I repeat it in my head a lot. I don't say it out loud very often, but politics is like Hollywood for people with bad last names. You know what I mean?
Hollywood is Washington is show business for ugly people. I think
ugly people. Yes, that's actually the way that I first heard it.
No offense to any politicians listening to this show. We love you.
Keep up the great work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's fascinating to watch it play out. And it's even more fascinating than Hollywood because Hollywood is totally scripted. Even the romances off screen and the marriages, a lot of that is scripted too. Do you know what I mean? Like the publicists call each other and they're like, hey, we need to arrange for a romance between Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz. They need to go on a couple of dates and they need to be seen in public for a while. Do you remember that?
No.
That actually happened.
I know that, like, so I had heard that some people will, like, call somebody's agent to be like, I'm interested in your client. Can we get a date? I didn't realize it was so to the point of, like, we need to script a romance between, you know? Like,
because everything that happens in Hollywood is totally genuine and real.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, but, like, at the end of the day, people are, like, people, right? Like, that's so sad.
Sometimes, but not always. Yeah. What about you? Politics?
I don't know. It's kind of a confusing question. Like local politics, but everything is local. You know. Like,
yeah.
So maybe just like politics in general. I don't know. I guess like okay. So it's weird. I want to say this in the most bipartisan way possible. I don't totally agree that like on a national level we just like look at it as like what can you do for me. I think these days there's a lot more partisanship in terms of like people being like this is my team and I'm gonna latch onto it than you know anything. But I don't know, the local, I really need to get into the local level of politics a lot more. Like, I have no idea who's on the school board or, you know, anything like that. And I've got a kid now, so that's important, right?
Honestly,
so,
that's one of the things that amazes me so much. You know, I have been a registered lobbyist. I'm not currently registered. You know, I register for specific clients. I've done state, federal lobbying. I do a lot of advocacy work, so I engage a lot with elected officials and people who work in administrations. It constantly amazes me how little people know, and not just New Jersey, like everywhere, about how government works. Yeah. And I think it's really sad that, you know, kids don't learn that in high school. And there's just this general, they're all crooks, let's, you know, dismiss them all. But especially in New Jersey, where you have a legislature that comes down and goes home every day. It's so easy to go into your district office, the legislator's district office, and say, hey, I really have an issue with whatever. And they're thrilled to have you come in, And people don't understand that. People just don't do it. They shy away from it. And it's just the easiest thing in the world to find out what's going on.
Yeah, when the last election that we did, the real local stuff, I noticed that nobody was running for like a certain position. I think it was in school board. And I was like, wow, nobody's running. So I wrote in my wife's name just to be like, wouldn't it be wild? She would be so mad at me.
Right?
Can you imagine?
Terribly
like
furious.
Somebody won that, but but it just got me thinking, like, how could nobody be running for something and then like we still have to vote? I don't know. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of lack of interest on that, and everybody kind of needs to step it up, myself included. Yeah,
I agree with you. I part of my job is sort of paying attention to a certain extent and knowing what's going on politically in New Jersey. But I will be completely honest and say I have no idea what the name of my mayor is. I have no idea if he's a Democrat or a Republican. I kind of don't want to know because I don't necessarily want to take that baggage home with me. I don't want to be stressed about. I'm stressed at the federal level. I don't want to be stressed at my local level too. But you're right. Like if we all decide that we just don't want to pay attention, what does that leave us?
Well, I can make a comment. You kind of get where we are now, but that would be political. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
It's very hard. I told you it's going to be hard to not be political, but I'm trying.
I know. No, it's a tough thing. Yeah. It's a tough thing. All right. Monopoly, as in the game of Monopoly.
Yeah, this is a business organization.
Right.
I'm pro-monopoly. I'm a capitalist. I'm pro-monopoly. I would have to say awful because I kind of really despise board games.
Oh.
But my son's...
Your son does something with board games.
My son's business is board games, so I will have to say...
What does he do?
He has a very cool business. Thank you for giving me the shameless plug opportunity. It's called rollforcrit.com, as in like anytime you're making, I guess you're tossing the dice in a board game, and it can change the game. It's a critical move. So roll for crit is a board gamer term. And he does a lot of podcasts. He does videos, and they review like board games.
Cool.
They do PR for board game companies. Yeah, very cool company. That's rollforcrit.com. So check that out.
Okay, cool.
So for Jonathan, I will say, I love those board games. Yeah.
Okay. I have a love-hate relationship with Monopoly. I love it when I'm winning, but it takes so long, and I almost never win. So
you want the tricks?
The tricks?
Yeah. So I love Monopoly, but like, all right. So the way that you're gonna win at Monopoly is you want to build as many houses as you can as quickly as you can. And you want to stick to like the letter of the rules. So like you can't play by like, Kate's rules or whatever. You got to like stick to the actual in-game rules. Buy as many houses as you can as early as you can. Create a housing shortage. Then like never upgrade to a hotel.
Kind of mean.
Yes. Everyone you play with is going to be like, come on, buy a hotel. And you need to just stick to your guns and be like, no. So once you get like a bunch of houses together and like, you are basically controlling the housing market at that point, find a way into jail and then just like sit there and collect your money until the end of the game.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like that's how you'll win every time.
And
also,
you've used this strategy.
Oh yeah, no, because I'm amazing at this game. The best like thing to get on the Monopoly board are the orange ones. Like I don't remember their names, but the orange properties, like they're very underrated. Everybody thinks like the green, the blue.
Yeah.
No. You want the orange because there are so many different ways to wind up in jail that when people get out, they're like automatically put over on that area of the board.
So they're going to owe you money.
So like everybody winds up going to the orange. It's like the most landed on thing in the game.
Wow, now I'm going to go get a Monopoly board and check this out.
I know.
There's some other stuff too, but like just doing that, you'll definitely win like every time.
Well, now I need to find some people to play Monopoly. Except it takes too long. I just don't want to do that.
That's my problem is I love Monopoly. I love board games in general. Nobody ever wants to play games. Like, like they have those themed Monopolies.
Yes.
Like I have the Legend of Zelda Monopoly. I've never played it before in my life because nobody wants to play Monopoly.
Is it because you're kind of a jerk when you play Monopoly?
No, you stick to the rules. There's no cheating. There's no
didn't really answer that question.
No, he didn't really answer that question.
I am not a jerk. I just win. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me once that Monopoly was created by anarchists or something?
Not anarchists. So her name was Elizabeth Maggie. And she invented Monopoly to be an annoying game. Like, it was intended to be something to be like capitalism in general is bad. And so you were supposed to...
Are you kidding?
No, like, you were supposed to play the game and be like, wow, this is awful. You know, the rich people get richer, the poor people
Capitalism
get...
is awful is the message of Monopoly.
Yeah,
Let's
she
go out
actually...
with pitchforks and pikes and tear down some, like oligarchies.
Yeah. I mean, she like actually created it with 2 sets of rules. And the one set is the set we play with to this day.
Sure.
And that was intended to be the thing that you hated. And then there was supposed to be this other way of playing, and I honestly couldn't tell you what the rules were, but like everyone wins in the end because it was more of like a communist kind of thing. And that was
socialism.
What she...
Monopoly on socialism.
And that was what she intended, like people would come away enjoying more, and then you would see like the downfalls of capitalism.
Like your Bernie Sanders Monopoly.
Sure, yeah. Everybody goes to college, all that. But yeah, like Milton Bradley got a hold of it, and then like it became what it is. And
Capitalist,
so, yeah,
evil
exactly.
capitalist. Yeah.
That is amazing. I feel like I learned so much.
I need to.
Yeah, the more you know, right? So
that's awesome.
We're being very educational on this week's episode. So
it's lovely. I just think that's fabulous. You taught me something. I taught you something.
There you go.
That's fabulous. All right.
That's our game, right?
I think that's our game.
All right. So tell us how you started your company. I want to hear about how you got deep into the sludge.
Well, it's kind of like whoever calls you and you're sure I know about sludge. Let's learn it. No, actually, my background is PR. Starting way back, I was an English teacher, so always communication, PR, writing, and verbal communication. I was like a debater in high school and college, so the only people who actually may be more obnoxious than trial attorneys. But I'm used to being very verbal and communicating, so it became just natural for me to look for clients who I could advocate for, tell their stories. So I kind of got to this particular business, after a stint really in private market. I worked for a trade association as a director of communications for Hinge, the Healthcare Institute of New Jersey. Worked very briefly in the McGreevey administration. And then after that, went over to the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, where I worked as a life sciences assistant to the president for external relations. So when I left there, when that job ended, I kind of looked at what I had done and, it's like, well, I guess I need to find a job, right? But then I realized that what I really liked doing was having focused on one area, which was primarily life sciences and all those spheres. It was really being able to see what people were doing, and I realized that a lot of people were actually working on the same thing, but they weren't really communicating with anybody outside of their silo. So academia was doing its thing, private sector was doing its thing, and government was just kind of all over the place, So what I really liked doing and why I started the business was to be able to connect those people, across sectors and bring people together. And I love that. I love networking. I love collecting people, in a sense, and saying, oh, you need to meet somebody, you need to talk to so-and-so. And I find so many synchronicities. They're just people that, somebody knows somebody, and inevitably those worlds will collide. And I think it's gotten a lot better than 15 years ago when I first started the business. I think we're much better at communicating now, but there's still always opportunities to introduce people to people who can assist them, and people they can be helpful to.
That's actually my favorite thing about networking as well, is to collect people, and they don't know each other yet, but that they're going to do really great things as soon as they meet. And so you connect them, and then you just stand back and watch this amazing thing unfold.
It's matchmaking.
It totally is.
Yeah,
it's really, wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And that's, I really, I do a lot of work for nonprofit organizations, sometimes professionally, but certainly in my personal life. And, asking people for money really grew out of my work on political campaigns, political involvement. But you really have to genuinely feel that you're not just, somebody, it's not a negative thing. You're not going to someone and saying, now you need to give me X and then I'll give you the receipt and we'll all be happy. You need to give someone the opportunity to really engage with the work that you're promoting. And if it's not a genuine response to that, you can get the money, but that's not really what you're looking for. You're looking for people to further the mission. And it's the same kind of thing with networking. You're looking to give people an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. I got to say, you're one of the best networkers I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like you and I have known each other for 10-ish years, maybe longer.
Same circles.
And yeah.
New Jersey's kind of like 3 degrees of separation.
I know, it really is.
So it's very easy that way. But I come from Kansas, which, even though it's a much bigger state geographically, it's also the same kind of small networking state because there just aren't as many people there to know. So you can know everybody in Kansas. And in New Jersey, remarkably, I think you kind of can know everybody too in certain sectors because it's really a very small world in many ways.
Yeah, it's a really small world, especially in New Jersey. I would agree.
Well, we are pretty densely populated, right?
Yeah.
The most in the nation, so
That's right.
the more you know.
I hear that.
So anyway, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Probably through my website, perkinspartnership.com. Always available there. All my contact info is there, and we all live on email, so
Yeah, we do.
check out the website. And happy to talk with anybody at any time. If I can't, there are certain clients that I can't really work with. I'm always happy to talk to anybody, offer ideas, offer suggestions, offer to put them together with people who can help. My job is just to not to find every client out there, but to find the right client and let the right clients find me.
Cool.
That's great. What a great philosophy. I like it. All right. Any last words of wisdom?
Oh, I think I've dispensed enough wisdom. and I'm out of coffee, so there goes
God.
the wisdom.
Oh, no.
We need a refill. Okay, so I think that's our show. And forgive me, people who are watching this on YouTube, I am so tied to the script because I'm terrified of forgetting anything.
I was telling her before we started, you say the same thing episode after episode. You can't memorize it by now, but, whatever.
Obviously, I cannot.
Hey, it's all good, right?
It's a comfort zone.
It is. It's a comfort zone thing. It's a comfort zone thing. So thank you to subscribers and listeners. We appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of our show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you're in the market for updated coverage. And finally, thanks to Becky Perkins for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.